All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody. We're excited you're back for week 5 of our 8-week Extraordinary Lifestyle Challenge. We're hoping you're getting a lot of value out of this series that we've put together. Jim Cathcart and I have been passionate about the idea of living extraordinary lives for most of our adult lives, and we've been passionate about helping other people to design successful businesses around their lifestyle. And so this last 4 weeks, we have really been going through some quality content to help you to create the life and the business success that you want. And we hope that you've been participating each week. If you're just coming into week 5, each one of the courses are standalone, meaning that what you watch today can be just enough to get you moving towards the life that you desire and towards the business success that you'd like to create. If you'd like to go back and watch previous versions, you're more than welcome to. This is our gift to you for participating and sharing feedback. We actually have a private Facebook group that we've created. You'll see it here at the bottom of your screen. This is a group where we're sharing tips and tools and free resources, and we post all of the recordings and the slide decks for each presentation. So if you've seen some of these presentations, but maybe you'd like to go back and revisit them to master them, we highly encourage you to go do that. Today's presentation is going to be on the topic of motivating yourself to take action, and I think that each and every one of you will be pleasantly surprised about the amazing content that my business partner and friend Jim Cathcart shares with us today. Jim, welcome to the presentation.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. And what a graphic that is. Look at that. You've got me and Tony Alessandra and Warren Greshes on top of Copperstain Mountain in the Canadian Rockies. Then you've got me and Paula and Tony and his wife Sue at Moraine Lake up in the Canadian Rockies, same trip. The motorcycle, that's a Yamaha FJR 1300, and I owned that for several years, and Paula and I toured not on that only, but on that and other bikes. We toured the Alps a couple of times, 3,000 miles each trip. We toured the Rocky Mountains, we toured New England, all over California. I'm part of a group of hikers and trail runners called the Heartbreak Hiking Fools. And this morning, actually today, I got up early and joined that group running up a mountain called Conejo Mountain near where I live, and made it to the top in 40 minutes and 52 seconds, but who's counting? And then I ran back down. And there's me playing rock and roll with a band called the Zippers. And a guy named John Zipperer owns that band, and they gave me a chance to be a guest performer one day. Then there's a picture of a boardroom where I've held a lot of sessions at Sherwood Country Club, a lot of group discussion salon, we call it, Sherwood Roundtable, where I bring in guests and we talk about fascinating things. There's a picture of Paula and me on a sailboat, the one that it was called the True North. It was raced in the America's Cup, and we're down in St. Martin on that photo. And then there's a picture of the two of us a few years ago at Lake Sherwood near Thousand Oaks, California, where we moved to from La Jolla back in the year 2001. So that's, just evidence that my life is a pretty robust life, and I'm living fully on all cylinders, physical, mental, social, spiritual, financial, emotional, and otherwise. And so what, big deal. Okay, good for you, Jim. What about me? That's what I would be saying if I'm watching this. Well, the reason I show you that's not to brag, although it is a form of bragging. I show you that to prove I'm living the kind of life I'm recommending that you can not only live, but ought to live, because the more abundantly you live, the more people you can help. Now look at your life day to day, and you find that your life is a reflection of your habit patterns. So what kind of habits do you need to have in order to create and attract the future you want? A lot of times people talk with you about setting your goals and working to reach the future you want. Well, the thing that they leave out of that equation sometimes is that you can also make that future want you if you think about it strategically. Let's look at the next slide. There is a causation chain of the choices we make. In other words, one item links to another item and influences it. And it starts with your mindset and it ends up with the future you want. And I wrote a book, as many of you know, called The Self-Motivation Handbook, just came out last year. And it's 336 ideas, little short 1-minute ideas, on how you can get yourself to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Well, the book starts with one question, and this question comes up again and again throughout the book. By the way, the same question comes up every single day of your life. Here's the question. What do you want? You know, in traffic, cars look at you to see where you're going to go. They look for a turn signal or look at your eyes if they can see your face, see where you're looking. They look at your wheels, see which way you're going to be turning. In other words, they want to know what you want, because only then can they get out of your way or let off on their accelerator enough to allow you to merge, or slow down enough to let you turn, or whatever it happens to be. When you go to a grocery store, all those shelves are looking at you, implying the question, what do you want? And it's up to you to choose. When you go to a coffee shop, that barista looks across the counter and says, good morning, what do you want? Right? So everywhere we go, the world wants to know, what do we want? And when we learn to clarify what we want and express it in tactful ways all the time, the world tends to conform itself to us and our desires. But if we don't think clearly about what we want and we don't express it to other people, guess what we get? A whole lot of what other people want by default. So this starts with you thinking about, what do you want? What do you want in the future, and what do you want right now? The basic human wants are survival, safety, connection with other people, the ability to express yourself, and the opportunity to make a difference in the world. That's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for those of you that have a psychological background. But beyond universal wants, let's think about what you want personally. Who do you want to think you're pretty cool? Seriously, what group of people or what individuals in the world would you like to think, boy, I admire you? Write it down. In the book, I've got a whole exercise that's called The Future You on pages 26 and 27. And it just leads you through a series of questions to clarify, who do you want to be respected and admired by? What experiences do you want in life? What things do you want to do that will make a difference in the world? What things would you like to acquire or own or have the use of for a period of time? What are your goals? What are your desires? What are your dreams? It all starts with that. Because if you look at the word motivation, it's motive and action. See, a motive without action is just a wish. It's an idle desire. Action without a motive is just random behavior. It doesn't lead you anywhere. But a motive, when acted upon, becomes motivation and moves you toward your goal, provides velocity being the rate of advancement toward a desired destination, as opposed to speed, which is just rapid movement. Speed doesn't mean you're getting anywhere, it just means you're moving fast. Velocity means you're going somewhere, right? So think of your mindset and then look at what actions would be consistent with that mindset. How do I need to think if I'm going to be the person that would have my future? And then what actions would that person take on a day-to-day basis? Those actions form over time into habit. So in other words, what habits are going to make me a more successful and more desirable person to be working with? Once we have habit patterns in place, other people notice that, and that becomes our reputation. I believe we should decide today what reputation we want 3, 5, and 10 years from now, and then focus on the mindset and the actions and the habits that would earn us that reputation. In other words, become the kind of person who would have the future you want to have, and that future will be attracted to you. because it's your reputation that determines who opens their doors for you and who keeps them shut. Your reputation will determine which relationships are accessible to you or not. And it all starts with the way you think, your mindset. Okay? And your relationships, in other words, the people you're connected with or people who are willing to spend time with you, determine how big your future is possible, how big it's capable of being. So if you want a really big, huge goal future, then start thinking, okay, if I'm going to have a future that big, who would I need to know? Who would, people that I don't know now that are in a position to really open opportunities for me, who would I need to know? How can I connect with them? Well, the way you connect with them is you earn the reputation, deserve the reputation that would cause them to trust and admire you. How do you get that? Form the right habits. What kind of habits? Work habits, communication habits, personal habits, etc. How do I get habits? Repeated action. Which actions? Any actions. Any actions relevant to the outcome. For example, when I was fat and out of shape, I wanted to get fit and I decided to become a jogger. I had never run, never enjoyed running. It hurt. It made my lungs burn. It made my legs ache. And my friends had told me, oh, it's bad for your knees. It's bad for your feet, whatever. Well, I noticed none of them were really fit. So I said, okay, I will find it difficult to get myself to jog every day. What could I get myself to do? I could get myself to put on running shoes and walk outside. And people laughed. And I said, well, if I put on running shoes and walk outside, I'm 1,000 times more likely to jog. What if you're not a jogger? Well, I could run to the next tree and then walk from there and then run to another tree later on and then walk from there and then turn around and come back. I did that, honest to Pete, I did that. And in a matter of months, I went from being a non-runner to being a daily runner, from being a fat guy to being a not quite so fat guy, to being a thin guy, to being a long distance runner. I went from 200 pounds down to 148 pounds on my 5'9" frame, from a probably 38 waist down to a 30-inch waist. And here, 40 years later, I've still got a 30-inch waist and I'm still fit because my new mindset, which I was cultivating by listening to programs like this, listening to Earl Nightingale's motivational recordings back in the day, things like that every day, reading books, getting around the right people. I cultivated a whole new me, little by little, day by day. You can do the same thing. I started out as pretty much just a nice guy loser and ended up with a remarkable life at the top of my profession. You can do this. You've got this. I'm not a gifted intellect. I wasn't connected with powerful people. I didn't have a relative with a bunch of money. I wasn't athletic. I wasn't an academic scholar. I just followed the plan. You can do the same thing. And chances are good you've got some gifts I don't have. So you may do it even faster. Let's move to the next one, David. When I wrote the book, the Self-Motivation Handbook, I put as a logo on the cover a pair of running shoes because the main idea in that book is just get started. And I give you 336 ways to get yourself started and keep yourself going. But the metaphor on the front of the book is just put on your running shoes. Yeah, but my legs hurt. Well, just put on your running shoes. Yeah, but the weather's not good for, just put on your running shoes. People tell me that it'll hurt your back. It's not good for you. Put on your running shoes. I'm not, I've got a cough. Put on your running shoes. Okay. Now step outside. Well, it's not a good step outside. Now we're outside. Let's go for a walk. See, once you break the inertia, then the other things become possible. Until then, nothing's going to happen except you sitting around thinking about it and saying, yeah, I would have done that, but. And by the way, you notice anytime you develop the habit of saying, but, your own but gets bigger and wider, right? Okay, so get rid of the buts, all right? Let's move to the next slide. I interviewed 110 self-made millionaires a few years ago. I was a host of an audio program. and did so in that role. And I found that there were a number of qualities that were common to all of them. They were very different people in very different businesses, but they had all developed the kind of discipline that made them self-made multimillionaires. And some of their traits are, one, none of them succeeded by accident. They were all absolutely intentional about becoming successful. Two, they were unbelievably hungry to learn. They were voracious students of success. They'd learn from anyone. They'd listen to anything. They would read a book twice, three times if necessary, to get the ideas out of it. They were all, every single one of them, willing to change themselves in order to be more likely to succeed. They assumed that no matter what the problem was, there was a solution somewhere. So, if someone said, well, you can't do that because of X, they'd say, yeah, that seems to be the case. Let's find a way around it or look for a different plan. And they were all absolutely committed to do what they needed to do in order to succeed. If you want to be a self-made multimillionaire, consider that as your starting checklist.
Jim, I'm going to jump in here just for a moment and just talk to you about the fact that there's, a lot of different people that are watching this video that are trying to get motivated to grow their business to an extraordinary level, that they can gain more freedom, they can gain more time, they can gain more flexibility. But those things that they have to do are oftentimes maybe complex, or maybe they are tough to do. And, self-motivation, just putting their running shoes on, or just scheduling the appointment to do the marketing or to do the networking or to do the sales calls or whatever it is that they need to do to recruit the new people or whatever it is that may move their business forward. What are some other things that are outside of self-motivation, like putting yourself into an environment of supportive people, or bringing in somebody for accountability and actually having some structure with that? Does that help?
Those are actually self-motivation items, and I list those in the book. One of the things I tell people is make it easy to succeed. Well, how do you do that? Get the tools you need and keep them around you in an easily accessible place. If that tool is software or an app or a program on your computer, if you need other people's encouragement and support, if you need guidance, then find some people to network with. Get an accountability partner who is going to hold you accountable. They're going to check with you every so often and say, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do? Well, what held you back? Well, what can you do now to make a difference, right? And just start showing up. I think it was Woody Allen's famous for saying 98% of success is just showing up. Well, I don't know about the formula, but showing up is huge. I was on the hiking trail this morning, and there was a woman who really struggled to get to the top of this particular mountain. And at the top, she sat down on a rock. She said, oh, I made it. And I said, give yourself credit. I said, first off, you showed up. And second, you stayed with it until you got to the top. You didn't get here at the same time as a lot of the faster people, but you got here. You showed up. That's a big deal. So, look for ways to help yourself do that. Three of my hikers, there's Bob, a guy we call Blue Jeans Bob, on the right. He always wears blue jeans instead of hiking pants. And there's Dave Hero, my lead guitarist buddy, in the middle, and me on the left, and we're standing at the top of a trail called Foxfield. But the question there is, what if you don't expect much? Well, I didn't. When I was growing up, I expected to be just an ordinary nice guy, probably a office worker or middle manager maybe at the phone company, and have an ordinary life. And lots of the people that I've known and still know who are very wealthy, successful people at first didn't expect much, but they got around people that did. And they started reading books and listening to recordings and podcasts and going to webinars and seminars to learn from people who did expect a lot more. And what happened is they started expanding their expectations. Now, when you start expecting more, you start gearing up to do more. See, if I said, get ready, you wouldn't know what to do because I'm not specifying what to get ready for. But if I said, get ready for as many things as possible, then you could start thinking about it. Well, let's see. There's knowledge I could benefit from in a number of ways. I could get ready for more things by learning more about this, and this. There are tools that I will probably need in a number of different areas. There are skills I could become better at, like managing money or dealing with people or communicating more clearly or staying more fit and healthy, that would help me no matter what there are a lot of things I could get ready for without even knowing what those things are yet. So if you expect more from yourself, you will start doing more to prepare for that. And when you clarify what you want and what you'd like the future you to be like, to do, to experience, to have, then you can see from that future back down that causation chain who you need to know, what habits you need, all the way back to how you need to think. Okay? So years ago, when I was in that mode, I heard on the radio Earl Nightingale. And many of you have heard me tell that story. Well, Earl Nightingale was a motivational speaker that had a 5-minute inspiring radio show. And I heard him on the radio. Let's go to the next slide, David. And he said one day, click the second, there you go. He said, if you'll spend 1 extra hour of study every day in your field, your chosen field, in 5 years or less, you'll be a national expert in that field. Well, let's look at the math on that. 1 extra hour of study a day in your chosen field. Go to the next slide, please. For 50 weeks a year, 250 hours, and that times 5 years gives you 1,250 hours. Click the next. That's on one subject. That's enough hours to make you a national expert on that topic. So choose your lane, just choose the field or category that you would like to be a leading expert in, and just start looking for a way to spend one extra hour each day learning about that beyond just the work you do. You can say, well, I get 8 hours. No, I'm not talking about that. This is 1 extra hour of learning every day in the field you've chosen for 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. Notice I'm giving you weekends and vacation time, okay? 5 years, that's 1,250 hours. I guarantee you can master your craft in that length of time. Let's go to the next slide.
Jim, I was just going to bring up is that, there's a lot of people that use the phrase, you have to believe it to achieve it. But what you're really saying here is that you don't necessarily have to believe in the possibilities, but you do have to expect the possibilities, and then you got to do the work. And if you do the work and you have the expectations, your belief will probably grow. Is that right?
Well, if you don't believe it's possible yet, then just suspect that it's probable. It could happen, right? So optimism, they say there's optimist, pessimist, and realist. And what I found is that realists are just pessimists that won't admit it because they always take the negative point of view. They look at current reality, assume it's permanent, and they say, you can't do that because of X. Well, that's what the pessimists say. The only thing is the pessimists transcend that and say, you can't do that, period, give up and don't even try. Whereas the realists say you can't do it because of this barrier. And the optimists say the barrier is temporary. Everything's possible somehow. Maybe not alone, maybe not now, maybe not in a reasonable way, but it's possible. So let's look for reasonable ways and figure out what goals we ought to be striving for, right? And if you can't believe in yourself yet, then believe in the systems like David and I have been showing you as we go through this whole series. Systems work. Systems are proven. We're not bringing to you theories. We're bringing to you concepts that have been proven again and again by thousands or millions of people. So follow the system until you believe in yourself, and then you'll get the extra juice from that self-belief. Every day, ask yourself the daily question. How would this acorn do the oak work? How would the oak do the acorn work? You see what I'm talking about? How would the person I'd like to be, the big mighty oak that I'd like to become, do this acorn daily work that I'm doing right now? Upgrade everything you do to a higher level today, and you'll find that tomorrow becomes bigger and it rushes towards you more rapidly with the rewards that you're seeking. What do you want? You deserve to have it. You see, desire, this is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, desire is possibilities seeking expression. In other words, if you want something, you really want it, the chances are good that possibility exists within you and within your world. And it's just a matter of starting on that path and then starting to identify the obstacles that appear along the way and just thinking of them as simple stepping stones. See, most people, when they worry, they think of worry as a bad thing. No, worry is a good thing if you don't wallow in it, because worry is simply a function of your mind. Let's say you decide you want to become president of the industry association for your field, your industry. Like me years ago, when I was a new professional speaker doing training programs that other people had designed, I said, I want to be someday the president of the National Speakers Association. Well, I had no idea how to be president of the National Speakers Association, but I knew it was something I wanted. And then my mind started showing me the obstacles. Jim, you're not a well-known speaker. You haven't become successful yet. There are other people who are way better qualified than you. You don't even know what to do if you were the president of the National Speakers Association today. You're probably not qualified for that. All of those things came up. Well, if you think of that in a typical worry fashion, that stops you. You don't go after it. But if you recognize that worry is simply a name we give to our mind's problem-solving process, and as you look at each one of that, you don't have the experience yet. Okay, I'll earn the experience. Okay. You're not known by the other people. Okay, I'll start networking, get involved, do some volunteering, help out other people, and become known and respected as a hard worker and a conscientious person and a grateful recipient for whatever other people provide to me. Okay, and I'll look at a person willing to I'll be seen as a person willing to earn everything I get. See, when you start letting each of those obstacles become simply a to-do, many of them get done. Others just go away entirely. Some remain as obstacles and you have to go around them. So go back to the basic idea of how do you get yourself to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. Just assume it's possible somehow, some way, somewhere with somebody's help, and then start pursuing the path. Just put on your running shoes, step out the door. Just show up. That's all. Just show up. You don't have to complete the hike. Just be at the hike. And like one member of our hiking group is 84 years old. Whoa. Well, today he showed up for the hike, and at the end of this particular hike, there's a really, really steep portion of the trail. He chose to take the road and go around up to the peak, which is a little bit further, while the rest of us went up the more challenging trail. Fine. Take your time, do it your way, but show up and keep going, because the obstacles will go away sooner or later. You can do this.
Great stuff, Jim. And for those of you who have not had a chance to take a peek at the Self-Motivation Handbook on Amazon, there's a great little review on there. There's lots of comments from other people that have purchased it. We highly recommend you take advantage of it and grab a hold of these 336 ideas. Is that right, Jim?
Yeah.
Well, that's a heck of a lot of ideas to get you motivated. And so if today didn't finish it off and fill your cup all the way overflowing like it did mine, then the book will just be that daily discipline to really get yourself going and keep yourself going. And so we really encourage everybody to take a look at that. You can also find lots of great resources at cathcart.com, as well as theextraordinarylife.com, where a lot of our episodes are hosted. Next week, we're going to be talking about the secrets to growing your extraordinary team, and that doesn't doesn't necessarily mean adding more employees or being in a position where you have to build this superpower. But if you are looking to expand your lifestyle and you want to be able to delegate and really help yourself to be able to prioritize the most important things and really work in the area of your uniqueness and the talents and gifts and skills that you'd really like to leverage and give back to the world and generate high value for those from the marketplace, we encourage you to join us back in again next week. And we hope that each and every one of you have a tremendous 4th of July holiday. And we look forward to seeing you back here Tuesday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays. For Jim Cathcart and Dave Bush, thank you all. And we wish you all the very best in living the extraordinary lifestyle. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, David.